Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining the Ultima monthly licensing webinar on today, the 31st of January. My name is Ian Gerard. I'm one of the Microsoft licensing consultants for Ultima, and you can see my contact details up there on the screen. Like I say, thanks very much for joining today. What we're going to do is we're going to run through a few elements in today's webinar. It should take around 25 to 30 minutes. There will be an opportunity at the end to ask questions, although similarly, if you have any notes or anything you want to kind of call out along the way, there is an opportunity to note them down, and I'll kind of have a look at them as we go. I probably won't be able to cover them off until the end. This is a high-level overview of some of the subjects we're seeing on the agenda, specifically around what Microsoft have been doing really over the last 6 weeks in regards to the updates, in regards to their mid-year review, what they're doing as an organization, what they're doing in some of their products, but very much taking it from a slant of the Microsoft licensing. So how's this product being licensed? What are the commercial implications, and what does that mean? It is high level, so I appreciate if there's something around here, whether it's you're interested in Power Apps, Power Automate, or whether it's around one of the other subjects, it's probably not going to be at the level you need for your organization, but should certainly start triggering those questions and getting you a good understanding. And of course, please don't hesitate to contact me, your other licensing specialist, or your account manager, and we'll cover all of this off. So like I say, it is a kind of a high level overview of the kind of conversations I've been having when I've been out over the last 6 weeks or so, and obviously in regards to what Microsoft's updates. It was their mid-year review at the end of December. The end of their financial year is the end of June. So generally speaking, we've had a few conferences. Generally speaking, the numbers are good. So there's no drastic new wave of huge promotions or incentives due. I don't want to belittle it. There are still lots of fantastic funding opportunities and all that type of stuff. But being blunt, the numbers are good. So there's no major updates really from Microsoft to the partner community in that regard, which we would then pass on to you as customers. But what we are going to do is look at some of the other key elements, the moving of the data to UK data centers. We will then look at the Microsoft Power Platform. Another element we will cover off, again, did cover off the previous month, but again, it's always worth looking at this, is the changes with the software assurance, because they've started to kind of happen or will start to happen from Monday. Dynamics 365, constant changes. There are some updates, some evolution of that product as well. Cover off some of the other news, specifically one of the most hottest subjects is the extended support for Windows Server, Windows 7. That's something I'm having a lot of conversations around. Excuse me. And like I say, at the end, there'll be an opportunity for questions as well. You will get a copy of these slides and you will get a copy of this recording. So I appreciate some of the detail might be a little tricky to read, but what I wanted to really cover off here is the introduction of what is a new agreement for Microsoft. So I wanted to kind of cover off where we were with Microsoft agreements. On the left-hand side of this graphic, you might be able to see multiple columns, multiple boxes, light, dark colored. This is kind of to indicate all the various purchasing methods or the plans or channels, the various ways to buy Microsoft product, Microsoft licensing, kind of ranging from via the credit card on the website to buying an enterprise agreement. You have Select Plus, MPSA, Open. It's huge proliferation of agreements, which makes it very confusing for you as a customer to answer that most simple of questions, which is what do we own? And how do we find that? So what Microsoft are doing is they're getting rid of a lot of the superfluous, what they believe to be the superfluous agreements, Open, Select Plus, MPSA, and replace them effectively with 3 different types of agreements. They're going to be, just kind of really simplifying it, effectively going to be Microsoft-led, it's going to be partner-led, or there's going to be direct. So what that effectively means is you've got a whole new commerce platform. So the idea is that it streamlines the whole process. With a simple click of a button, single contract, you should be able to see all of your licenses wherever they are. Now, this includes the introduction of a new agreement. This is the part I want to kind of concentrate on now. This is when I say, well, it's Microsoft-led. This is the one I'm talking about. They call it Microsoft-led, call it field-led, call the Microsoft Customer Agreement. And effectively what this is a new agreement for Azure-only customers. And it's actually coming in, has been in effect for the last 5 months, but there is a critical point now where if you are a Microsoft as your customer and you previously bought that Azure through a server and cloud environment, like on an EA type agreement, you can no longer renew those agreements. You have to now either move to partner-led, which would be CSP, or you move, if you've got any other enterprise agreement, perhaps with your Office 365 licenses on, brilliant, fantastic, put Azure underneath there. If you don't, that means you're having to move to this Microsoft customer agreement, which is something which Microsoft are doing directly without the involvement of a partner. So that's something where you would stay on that as your enterprise portal. But again, similarly, you're making that 3-year commitment at that direct agreement with Microsoft. The alternate to buy your Azure would be the partner-led, which would then be CSP, or alternately, the other one, the third option, which would be the paying on a credit card, going onto your website, going onto the Microsoft website and buying those products. So like I say, when we're kind of looking at how does CSP compare today, it's really important now to consider moving forwards. There's going to be 3 main ways to buy that Microsoft product. I've called it the enterprise agreement at the top, which is that Microsoft direct agreement, or it's the web direct, paying on a credit card, having that Microsoft customer agreement, or the one at the bottom, the partner-led one, which would be the CSP agreement, and that kind of grows as a partner-led program, offering all that full life cycle, all the support, annual billing, all the services, all of that kind of great stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, the MPSA and the open agreements, even excuse me, even some Select Plus, some SCEs, these are all still available. But it's just a question of when we're coming up to renewal, you are now going to be seeing one of these 3 motions, if you haven't already, really being proposed as the way forwards. Because from the 1st of February, you can no longer renew your Azure only server and cloud enrollment. Then you have to basically go to CSP or that Microsoft Direct agreement. And that's just with Azure happening from the 1st of February. So we will see other products doing the same over time, to effectively having one of those 3 main ways to buy. And again, Ultima would still be that partner who provides the enterprise agreement and provide that high-level enterprise support. Of course, we are a tier 1 and a tier 2. We're a direct CSP partner. We also have some indirect services as well. We partner up with a third party for their services as well. But effectively, we have our own cloud solution provider platform, our own CSP, which is this monthly way of doing your licensing, whereas you come to us, the partner, and we offer the 24/7 support. So it's a fully managed self-service portal, or we do it for you. It's all licensed on a monthly basis, so that's for maximum flexibility up and down. There are still choices to do annual, so if you did want to make a year, in some cases even 3-year commitment, you can still do that. Similarly, it's a cloud solution provider, and 90% of the licensing is cloud licensing, but there is some on-premise on there. For example, for things such as SQL, Windows Server, your RDS cows. So it's really this new program which has got much more flexibility in the modern workspace, where you can flex your users up and down every month, or you can choose to license other parts of the organization on a longer term basis. So that's absolutely the scenario for the vast majority of organizations. There's that profile of user who needs a higher level of functionality. They might be on premise, need to make that longer term commitment, they're more stable. And you might have those more seasonal workers, or more retail or in manufacturing, perhaps different profile of user. If you've got shift work, where user can go up and down, maximum flexibility. You don't have to give everyone the same thing. Now, of course, with CSP, there's a different price point for that. But again, that's when you basically start comparing the flexibility to the commercials, start working out really what's going to provide the best value. The best news here, of course, is that Ultima provide both, and that's what we kind of do and assess for you. But I'm sure that's a conversation you're already having a look at. But really now, with the end of those SCE agreements for this next year, for the next 12 months, we've heard of a Microsoft mid-year review, the kind of pushing of CSP, and the kind of abandonment or perhaps there's a better word for that, from Select Plus, Open MPSA will really start accelerating over the next 12 to 24 months. There was another significant update, which you probably had an email from Microsoft around. It might be significant to some and not so much to others. And that's regarding the moving of all cloud data to the UK databases. So obviously we're aware that the UK has have their Office 365 and Azure databases now built within the UK. Previously, obviously, all the data was in Amsterdam and backed up in Dublin, or vice versa. And now effectively what we're going to see is Microsoft doing or offering customers this migration, almost a free migration of all of your customer data to the UK data centers. They offer things like, service chats via Teams to support that. But effectively, you as a customer can choose to opt in before. And so you can choose to opt in to say, yeah, okay, we'd like to crack on with this, like to be one of the first, please. And you can opt in to do this shift before the 1st of July 2020. And then effectively Microsoft will take your core customer data at rest and then do that migration between the 1st of July 2020 and the 1st of July 2022. And there's going to be no additional cost for that. Now, that's for those people who kind of opt in to say, me first, please. The migration will happen for everyone, except if you need multi-geo or there's unique circumstances. If you've got various different amendments or this isn't good for you, then of course, first things first, let me just say, contact us and we will find caveats and workarounds. It's not a caveat. We will find amendments or reasons why this migration should not happen. But this is obviously for those where there's not so much those issues. Migration will happen for everyone. So even if you don't opt in, Microsoft basically say, well, look, from July 2020 up until July 2022, we are going to be moving all of this kind of core customer data at rest across to the UK data centers. And that's for all users. It's pretty straightforward. I should probably cover off what core customer data at rest is. So this is your Exchange online mailbox content. It is the files uploaded to OneDrive. It's the chat messages within Teams. So it's all of that type of data. So this is obviously pretty major impact for major people. There might be some areas that can move, some areas that can't. And obviously we have Ultima have Azure Solution Specialist. There's funding from Microsoft to help with all of this type of stuff. The next steps would be you can, well, first things first, review the actual location of your data. This is within the organizational profile. You can kind of request that early migration from that Office 365 admin center as well. There's pretty detailed instructions on how to request that early migration. But even if you don't request it, just to be clear, from kind of July 2020, that migration will happen. So if this is something which is going to cause a huge red flag to you or the business, then now's the chance to feed it back internally and find out whether this is going to be something we need to discuss further. I'm actually running a little bit behind. I've been a bit waffly, apologies. So I'll speed it up a little. The Microsoft Power Platform is probably one of the most significant areas Microsoft are pushing really over the last month or so, and certainly moving forward. Certainly that message around automation, AI, RPA, it's a very key message for Microsoft as well. But Microsoft's Power Platform, they've kind of done some rebranding, but we're really talking about Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents. And I'll use the next few slides to kind of run through from a licensing perspective, because there's a huge amount of complexity in the technicalities of these products, which we're more than happy to look at as well. But like I say, just today, focusing on the licensing piece. And it does align, and I have to say this, it does align to what Ultima are doing as well with our intelligent cloud, having this autonomous cloud scenario. Microsoft making these bold predictions about how by 2025, 85% of manufacturing tasks are going to be automated or carried out by machines. And however much skepticism I might personally have around that, this is what Microsoft, this is the message that they're delivering. And they're saying that their Power Platform is going to be the suite of tools and capabilities and innovation that will help you achieve that as an organization. Now, that is something that automation and piece is something where Microsoft made a significant investment, as have Ultima. The longest standing one is Power BI. Obviously, this is something where you will be able to kind of create these dashboards, look into that data, and kind of get those business insights. Now, there's three ways to license Power BI. There's the free license, there's the Power BI Pro license, and there's Power BI Premium. And one of the most common things I'm asked for is a matrix of, well, what can I do this? How do I do this? This user wants to do this user wants to do that. But then suddenly I'm going to open it up to my partners and my affiliates and my external users. So what I've put on this slide, and this is a bit of an eye chart, but this is a matrix of what is included within each one of those offerings. And without putting too much of a fine point on it, the Power BI free license is free, but it's kind of allocated to an individual. The Power BI Pro license is a per user license and is by far and away the most common one as opposed to Power BI Premium. Power BI Premium is when you start licensing the cores almost for an unlimited number of users. But really, it's that Power BI Pro licensed user who has the ability, this is crucial, to kind of share the dashboards they create. You know, if you're a Power BI free user, you can create view dashboards, you can access the data via mobile devices, you can kind of do all this good stuff. But if you actually want to share any of this to your users for them to consume, you want to publish it to SharePoint, let people kind of access these reports and share them with other BI users, then that needs to be the Power BI Pro license. So what you traditionally find is a stack of 5 to 10 Power BI Pro licenses for those super users, and then the rest of the organization is actually using Power BI free, that free license. You know, Power BI Premium is incredibly expensive because of the capability that it gives you and all that kind of wonderful stuff, but you need to be doing some serious or opening it up to work with affiliates and organizations. If you're a financial organization, if you're a stock trader, a global financial insurer, these types of organizations on a mass scale. But like I say, I'm not going to kind of run through all of the elements of what each license gives you, because if this is a relevant conversation or something you need to look at, then the only way to do it is take it down to that profiling of the user level, and just doing the hard graph with kind of figuring out what each one needs. Generally speaking, they're needing to create and then share the work that they're doing, they're going to need a Power BI Pro license. Then moving on to the Power Apps license. So generally speaking, the Power Apps is licensed per individual. You know, there are limited Power App plans available via the Office 365 and Dynamics plans as well. But generally speaking, you're going to have the choice of licensing an individual user to access all the applications, or whether you're going to access a individual user to access specific business scenario applications. So you know, each user can then run 2 custom apps or 1 customer portal, but then do they need access to all of the applications in Power Apps, or do they need just one of those individual ones? And again, if it's just a kind of per user, per app individual one, you're looking at what, £10 per user per month. If they need the access to the unlimited applications, kind of everything, the full suite, the full capabilities of Power Apps, then you're looking in the region of £35 per user per month. So again, it'll be a simple case of determining and profiling each user and seeing what functionality they're using. Do they qualify for the unlimited one, or is it better to kind of lock them down on a specific business application scenario? Look, there are other options for Power Apps. I'm not going to go into if there's a large number of users. If you're doing it via Azure with like capacity, then there are alternate ways of doing it. But again, that's when you're getting into pretty high density requirements. And apologies, I'm kind of skimming through this, but please let me know if you have any questions and contact me afterwards, or you're a licensing specialist. The next one in the Power App, the next one in the Microsoft Power Platform is Power Automate. Now, basically, Microsoft Power Automate is just a rebrand from Flow. I don't know how many of you guys were using Microsoft Power Flow, but it's all licensed in exactly the same way. Now, you would actually get a Microsoft Flow license. This is the wonderful thing, by the way. So it's called Microsoft Power Automate. It is a rebrand. If you were to actually buy the license, look on the price list, look on your invoice afterwards, Microsoft are still calling it Flow, which is just wonderful. So occasionally I'm referring to Flow, but I'm talking about Power Automate. They are one and the same thing. The licensing is still called Flow. We need to talk about the product as Power Automate now. But there is a free version within anyone with a Microsoft Office 365 account will effectively have Flow. Okay, and will have Power Automate, and you kind of get 2,000 requests per day. And it says it's free, but it's kind of included within those subscriptions, so you get unlimited Flow runs per month. Same with Dynamics 365 as well. But then when you start buying it, and again, you're looking at around £10 per user per month if you wanted to buy specifically Power Automate for an individual. They still get the unlimited number of created flows, but you are really looking on an API request, kind of up to 5,000 now. And then if someone needing multiple users across the organization, then you'd move away from licensing it per individual, and you'd actually move towards licensing it per flow, so kind of per business process. But obviously then you see the significant cost of kind of jumping from £10 per user per month to kind of 311 odd pounds per month. But obviously that's with unlimited users. So once again, it's just profiling that user and figuring out who needs what and where your break-even points are. The last element of the Microsoft Power Platform, don't mean to just happens to be the last one I'm talking about, are the Power Virtual Agents. So the Power Virtual Agents, effectively, again, there's kind of no code or very, very low code GUI that where you without the need for data scientists or all these bots are kind of doing all these hundreds of different services, all pre-built, and effectively enabling you as a customer to spin these. And it works with Flow, it works with automation as well. And you can kind of effectively spin up these sessions on a monthly basis. It's kind of licensed per tenant. So effectively, your global admin would go into and kind of assign through the admin portal like a Power Virtual Agent user. And then that is then charged according to the unit of sessions that user does. And then we can see a kind of a breakdown of what those sessions are. If they're just creating, one of those licenses that allows you to create up to 2,000 kind of virtual agents. But there might be actually just looking to have some file capacity or some log capacity. And similarly, that one of those kind of licenses, and again, you're looking at about £700 per month, and would get you that. Wanted to touch upon the changes within software assurance, just to confirm Microsoft are effectively having a look at software assurance benefits for those within enterprise agreements. And you get technical benefits like DR rights, vMotioning, new version rights. None of that is going away. It's the additional support really via software assurance that Microsoft are taking away. The stuff that you could attach a real monetary value to, the training vouchers, the planning services days, and the problem resolution support. The ones you could say, well, that's £1,000 worth of consultancy, or that's a £800 training course. So this is something that Microsoft announced back in November, and now from February 2020, this is when we're starting to see, and we've sent out newsletters and various other pushes and talk about a webinar, before. But for example, you can no longer get training vouchers for Azure. So from February onwards, you can't utilize training vouchers for any Azure courses. And similarly, you can't utilize any of your planning services days for Azure training, for Azure planning consultancy either. You still have those days available, you can use them for other bits and pieces, same with the training vouchers, any other product. But what we are going to see is Microsoft start to phase out all of these other products over the next, well, actually, it's going to be right up until, I think he said it's going to be up to around January 2022, that everything's going to finally be taken away. Now, ultimately, we've got a great message on what we're doing, what we're stepping up, but effectively Microsoft are taking away with one hand and replacing with the other is what their message is. It's not exactly the same. They're removing the planning services days and replacing them with fast track funding. Now, fast track funding is great, And it does help with that consumption. It does say, well, okay, well, if once you've got 15% of your workload deployed with Teams, we'll give you X amount of money, and once you get to 40%, there's another whack of money. So it's great. It's really helping you to get that return on your investment, start actually consuming the products and services that you've bought. So fast track funding is great. But look, that's not the same as the planning services days, because the planning services days would effectively get you with that document, that kind of plan, that guide on how you would go about that deployment or that migration. Similarly, with the training vouchers, Microsoft have offered some kind of online training platform, but this isn't the fully accredited Microsoft training courses. It's not that QA Global Knowledge provide. And again, ultimately, we've built our platform, but again, it's not offering that. So please take a look through your organization, take a look at your training vouchers, and start using them as soon as possible. I mentioned about Dynamics 365 and the retail solution updates as well. Sorry, I mentioned about Dynamics 365 and general updates, and this is all around the retail solutions. Some new capabilities, some evolution of capabilities as well. Certainly seeing Dynamics in the retail space, taking off and getting a lot of traction. Microsoft doing a lot of work, doing a lot of focus. They've still got these specific business units whose entire focus is to sell that Dynamics piece. They've got access to their own funding. Ultima as a partner, Dynamics is one of the few areas, obviously from a licensing is no problem, but from a technical consultancy point of view, we partner with an expert third party due to the level of complexity and also due to the key nature of its business functions. But effectively, yep, absolutely, there are some new retail solutions available. I kind of just read through these slides, but it's all stuff that's kind of due this year. And if this is something which you use, then please let us know. We can kind of look into this fully. But again, it's all just around, you always buy Dynamics in various applications, and you can have one user who has several applications, and then they buy the plan. So some guys licensed individually, some guys with the plan. And basically what Microsoft are doing is it's just adding more to these plans to make those more attractive, to get more customers signing up to buy the full suite. They think, well, actually, if we make the suite more attractive, they start using more of these individual components, then you get more value, but also you're kind of locked in that much more as well. But it's great if you need these unifying back office and e-commerce and in-store and all this other great stuff that they're releasing. So that's actually the end of the webinar, and thank you very much for joining. I didn't want to cover off the extended support. I thought I'd pop the slide in at the end, but I haven't. Windows 7 extended support and Windows Server 2008 SQL extended support is all available, and you can buy it via your enterprise agreement. You do have to have active software assurance to cover what would be in effect those servers or those devices. So please do bear that in mind. Please bear in mind that it's also expensive. You buy it for the year, but let's say a Windows Server data center license costs you £500. The extended support is like, £900. So please bear that in mind. But similarly, we appreciate that doing that migration isn't as straightforward. If you actually do a migration to Azure, so if you take that legacy server, virtualize it, put it into Azure, Microsoft will give you that extended support for free. So that is worth bearing in mind as well. I'm very aware that doing that migration is not straightforward, but that is something that Microsoft are offering to help with that as well. So it's certainly something I'm having a lot of conversations around and doing a lot of commercial analysis around. But that really is it. Thank you very much for your time. And please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, cool. Doesn't seem to be the case, but like I say, there's my contact details. Contact me if you do have any questions or follow up, or your account manager. And once again, thank you very much for your time.